On all A-level English courses, there are some exam questions which will ask you to write an essay comparing two texts. When we compare two poems, two novels, or two articles, we are not doing so to suggest that one has been directly influenced by the other, though in some cases it may have been. We compare texts because analysing how writers might capture similar themes in different ways, or different themes in similar ways, will help to aid our understanding of each work. When it comes to writing an essay response, one common mistake students sometimes make is writing about texts separately, without actually linking them together. In this example language and literature question, which asks students to compare two non-fiction texts, we can see that each of the two paragraphs answers the question, with discussion of text A in the first paragraph and discussion of text B in the second. Compare the ways in which the writers create a sense of voice as they reflect upon the issues raised. In text A, the blogger Sue Marsh begins by expressing in a highly personal voice that she has agonized about writing this post. The use of the highly emotive verb here inspires sympathy and understanding, which becomes a central theme in the text. The personal voice continues when Marsh states that honest and from the heart is always best, and the cliched expression from the heart reinforces her belief that she is emotionally open, with the adverb always serving the rhetorical function of convincing the reader that this attitude is her general worldview, and further aligning her audience with her cause. The personal voice is a convention of blogs like this, and Marsh's audience would already be familiar with her life through previous entries. Similarly, the journalist Ian Birrell notes that within my lifetime, homosexuality has first been legalized, then embraced into everyday normality. The adverbial within my lifetime situates a national event within Birrell's own personal life history. Birrell employs this mention of his own experience firstly to emphasise the speed of the progress of British civil rights, but also to encourage readers to reflect in a similar way how they too have lived through important social change. The only thing actually linking these two texts together is the word similarly at the beginning of paragraph 2. And even then it isn't entirely clear what similarity the student is trying to highlight. Currently, this feels like two separate essay points rather than one single point of comparison. Expanding upon the word similarly before discussing text B would make the comparison clearer. Let's change the word to a statement. This already makes the comparison between both texts clearer. The student is now stating explicitly what link there is between them. However, what would improve this further is making sure that we state our comparison at the very beginning of the point through the inclusion of a comparative topic sentence. As I explained in an earlier video, topic sentences sum up the main argument of the point you're making, and comparative topic sentences need to address both texts, highlighting the interesting link you have found between them. It's very important that this comparison is a meaningful viewpoint, not an obvious fact of observation. For instance, the following observations are true, but do not provide us with any particularly insightful ideas about either text. A better comparison is one which raises a genuinely meaningful link between the texts. Both texts discuss the societal issue of disability through a personal voice in order to make the issue relatable. With a solid comparative topic sentence in place, it is now clearer how this point is linking both texts. However, the comparison could still be more developed. We have spotted a similarity between texts A and B, that they both employ the use of a personal voice, but we could modify this to nuance our view and discuss what makes them different as well. Both texts discuss the societal issue of disability through a personal voice in order to make the issue relatable. However, whereas Sue Marsh's blog is personal and anecdotal throughout, Ian Birrell's article is only personal on the occasions when he feels the need to put the topic in the context of his own life. This is now a more developed comparison. It's important to both compare and contrast texts simultaneously where necessary. Start by finding a similarity between the texts, and then develop that by exploring the nuances that make them different. The point is still not as developed as it could be. For the sort of integrated comparison exam boards require, it's important that in much of our essay we are comparing texts not just within paragraphs, but within sentences. In this particular essay, this would be a good opportunity for us to discuss how the comparison and contrast we've drawn are affected by the genre, audience, and purpose of both texts. Unlike in Sue Marsh's blog post, Birrell's personal situation is not the focus, and the rest of the article he talks more broadly about the experience of various minority groups within society. This allows Birrell to express his political viewpoints in a more direct way than Marsh. Marsh's blog, in keeping with conventions of the form, is more about describing the narrative of her own personal experience, and unlike Birrell, she is aiming at an audience that is likely already invested in her life story. There is an urgency in the voice of both writers to encourage their readers to support social change, but whereas Marsh achieves this through the intimacy of personal anecdote, Birrell's style is more detached and overtly polemical. Comparison is an important skill for any student of English because it invites you to consider not only what texts are, but also what they are not. Follow this advice to keep your comparison integrated, and your comparative essays will be more detailed, engaging, and insightful.